Hey guys, welcome to Honey, We Need to Chat.
Where we believe when communication dies, bad things happen.
Here's a clip from our podcast.
Let's get chatting.
Honey, we need to chat.
To some degree, we've got a rhythm and a flow to our working week and our time together, but to also some degree, which we don't. It depends on what clients I have on in the week. Katie's just gone through a season of covering off more time at work to fulfill someone else's work obligations that left. So, but now we're out of that season and she'll go back to having 2 days a week of not going into the city. So that will be helpful, I think. So maybe it was a combination of a number of things that made this season particularly difficult.
Yeah.
So I think we have intentionally tried to make our lives simple. And I think that if we break it right down, we don't actually run around like chickens. We don't have to run around like chickens. However, I think that is part of our coping strategy.
Yeah.
Both of us just try and do more to fill that sense of whatever else is happening. So if we're feeling less than in some other space, well, we will do more to compensate.
Yeah.
And so for me, that will spiral, as I said before, and explode. But I think for you, Andrew, it's more like it will wind you down and you will become more weary. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And so we do try and live a simple life. And I think that a lot of people do over schedule their lives, and we've tried really hard not to. But I think it's that self-inflicted busy that we get caught up on.
Yeah.
Do you find that you mentioned as well the importance of Sabbath and how you want to be having a Sabbath, and at night times you want to have Sabbath? Do you find that it's something that's in your mind even amongst the busyness, or do you find that it's the thing to forget easily because you're so busy, the need for Sabbath, if that makes sense, or the priority of it in your relationship?
I think the fact that we actually are intentional about a whole day means that you it's pretty hard to forget when it's a whole day. But if we were like, we're going to do Sabbath between 7 and 7:25 every night, like stuff would come up, like that we would just forget. But the fact that we wake up on a Sunday and we go, today is a day of rest and a day of turning off our minds from the usual work and
to-do list.
Yeah. I think it's harder to ignore when you actually set aside a day. And it is tempting to do stuff. And it's not like we just sit there and twiddle our thumbs. You sometimes you do.
And that's
It looks like this.
Yeah. It looks like, eyes open for the first 5 minutes and then heads back. But like, I might find Sabbath rest in just working with my hands and just doing a small project. I'm not going to like repave the whole backyard like on a Sabbath day and go, this was Sabbath rest. But I might just sweep up some leaves and put them in the compost and fill the chickens' grains and sit down with the dog for a bit and just mow our tiny little lawn, do a little bit more sweeping, maybe a little bit of leaf blowing, and feel like I'm observing the rhythms of rest and restoration in my body.
Awesome. Yeah.
And also just keeping an energy going,
Yeah.
And that in its and of itself can still the mind.
Yeah.
The enjoyment of simple, non-demanding tasks. I work with people who are quite high needs and demanding, and I need to almost, I would use the word intercede between them and their creativity to work out what story I can draw out. And at the end of the session, sometimes I fall into this position of my hands just falling like down, and I'm just like, okay, that was full on. So sometimes I'm left feeling quite rattled. And so, a Sabbath rest day is a very beautiful, non-demanding space to refill.
Yeah.
And that's important too, is what you were sharing before about how you rest. You know, that's been something that I've genuinely really struggled with, is like knowing how to rest. It's like, you know, it's that balance of, should I just be sitting down and twiddling my thumbs, or should I be going over there and doing that? Like, it's just, it's really hard. And I know for myself, when I don't get rest, again, like I get more rattled. I don't get to, I can't process things as much. I'm not as rejuvenated or whatever else as well. So understanding yourself and how you rest, I can see is really important.
One little thing that may help in that space is preparing to rest.
Yeah.
So Jewish people would prepare all of the food that they're going to eat on the Saturday.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And clean up and tidy up, and, you know, so it wasn't like they woke up to a huge pile of dishes. Which we woke up to this morning. But today's not the Sabbath, so we wash the dishes.
Yeah, I love that idea of actually, because that also feeds into the intentionality about setting aside that time too, because you're planning for it and you're thinking about it and you're making it, putting those boundaries around it to make it work the way that's going to be the healthiest. So, and we've actually, ironically, been talking about this a lot recently and been wanting to put that in on a Sunday. So it's nice to hear you guys reflecting on it too, because I think that's another little nudge that we
and
just
I think
need to do it.
A couple of things to note is that one, it becomes a habit. It's like any other habit.
Yeah.
It's clunky at first, but then eventually it kind of becomes part of your family culture. And two is our boys were not into it at all.
Yeah.
And so we encourage them at the start, but then we never force them to do that. But we're modelling it. So we're modelling it every week, and they can, you know, we say to them, we'd like to have a no-tech day. It's the Sabbath, no tech. And they might choose to do that or not, but we're still encouraging them along that path. So you usually get pushback from your kids. I think if you don't, then that's probably unusual.
Yeah, that would be bizarre. And I think it's such a beautiful blessing to give them, because they're not going to get that, especially in how busy and full every moment of life is these days, with the layered inputs is like social media and work and technology and media in general and all this stuff, school. They're not going to get that outside of the home. So if you can put that in place as a rhythm that you've shown them, regardless of if they take it on board for themselves or not, at least they've experienced that. And I think that's a huge example that will be invaluable for them as they age.
Absolutely. Don't you think it's just the best gift you can give them if they understand 6 days of work, 1 day of rest?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
What a gift to give them,
Yeah.
because it will set them apart and hold them in a good space for the rest of their life. What a great habit.
If we circle back to communication, given the nature of this podcast again, one, I just want to say to your listeners, I don't always sound like this, but
neither do I.
a near 3-week-long throat infection that's tickling my throat. And neither of us has slept through the night for 2 to 3 weeks. Anyway, all these things can affect the way you feel about everything.